You are listening to Unity in Our Community on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
I mean, with all the, things that are going on in our lives, the cost of living and all that, like you said, and then having to face all these difficulties in the workplace and stresses, and seeing people, hats off to them, so it's, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm sure you've seen now, I'm an optimist, and I see a lot of positivity, and I like to be an optimist because, it's so easy to be the opposite. And a lot of people you speak to, and it's just about reaching out to each other, and just showing the goodness, because there's more goodness in people, Jess. There
Absolutely.
is. People want to be good. People want to help. Some people just don't know how to. Some people are more, outward. Different people have different personalities, but deep down, we all want good for each other. I really believe that. And I feel sorry for the people who think otherwise. Who are extremists in whatever capacity, they have hatred for others. I feel sorry for you. That's what I say. I've engaged with, right-wing people and extremists and things like that on all sides, right? And but even that hatred comes from somewhere else.
Yeah. It's layers, isn't it? It's like you often find that like what you see on the surface is not the real. It's not the real reason why somebody feels some way. They're just projecting that into that area, but really it comes from somewhere else. And I think there's a lot to be said about learning about trauma and learning about, like, if you hurt people, basically. And I think that we see, like, generation after generation, of this, the way that the energy of trauma kind of just transfers itself into different areas. And I think that's kind of like something that maybe, I'd love to talk about that more with someone who knew more than me, but I feel that, like you say, like when you talk to people and, they've got kind of strong views and they're racist or they're very right wing, I think like you're correct in saying, that's come from somewhere else or something that's happened to them. As an individual in their journey,
or even if nothing did actually happen to them, some of the people I've spoken to, for example, they haven't engaged with it. For example, if somebody's against a particular community, for example, I'm not going to name examples, but it comes out of ignorance, Jess.
As
well, there's a lot of ignorance there.
And there's also a narrative that they've been told by the media, mostly.
That's right. Oh, that's there. I mean, that's very powerful. It's very powerful, for example, I met a person in Cardiff, right? And this was actually in the town centre. I'll give you a quick story. And there was some people there. They were from a Muslim charity. And they were sort of collecting for something, and I forgot what the charity was. And he was sort of walked past. He goes, "Oh, blah 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 blah," very sort of racist comments. So I heard him, and I went up to him. And I said, "Look," I said, "What? Hi, I'm a Muslim, and I heard you say that." He said, "Oh, what? He got aggressive with me. Hey, stay away from me, and this, that, and the other." I said, "No." I said, "Look, I tell you what, why don't you, I'll buy you a coffee. Have you got 5-10 minutes?" And he sort of looked at me and he said, "Are you for real?" So we went to Greg's. We were near Greg's, in town centre. So we went to Greg's. I bought him a coffee. I sat down and I said, "Look, I'm a Muslim, right?" I said, "Look, man," I said, "I'm sure you don't really feel this way. You don't want to feel hatred, etc., etc." And he said, "Oh no, you're all right. You're a nice guy, obviously." And so I said, "We're all, I said, where does this come from?" He said, "Oh," and it was all, this story, and I saw this report, and I saw this, that, and the other, and you don't want to take over, and you want to do this, and you want to do that. I said, "It's nothing like that, mate. Of course it's not. Everybody just wants to live." I said, "Those people out there you were swearing at, they're collecting for charity. for the community, right? And then I invited this guy to come and see the mosque, which is Darul Islam Mosque, in Cathays. I don't know if you've seen. But that's very active in the community. So he came there and he visited. He did actually come down the next day.
Wow.
He came in, so that's where. So he immediately changed his perception.
Yeah.
And it was very easy to do, really. So it just goes to show it's not really that inbred thing. It's just confusion, it's ignorance, etc.
Yeah, and I think the fact that you just approached him and you were calm and you were like, mate, let's just sit down and have a quick chat. I'll buy you a coffee.
Yeah.
That probably just diffused him, or any kind of feelings that he was feeling of anger, and you were able to kind of bring some reality into the reality of the situation. Reality is we're just people and we're doing community work and this is our mosque, and I think that's a beautiful story. I think that more people could do that. Our community would benefit from it.
Yeah. And the thing is, because I saw in that man, he's a normal guy like me. He's just an average Joe, normal guy. And he was, but he just had this. So we need to definitely engage more, and try and not get emotional about things, and just understand that there's a lot of confusion going around, Jess. There's a lot of propaganda, there's a lot of narratives. You're a media person, you know more than me about that, right? And so it all comes from a confused sort of environment. So I can understand when people get confused, or they have certain views, or they develop certain views through watching the news and this, that, and the other.
Well, I think that we spend so much time online that when you go online and you look at your device, you are forming a kind of opinion, or whatever you're watching or consuming online, you're forming an opinion from that about the world, like your worldview. So I think that coming into reality and just actually being where you are in your community, talking to people, like I said, just going outside, like looking around, where you live, and having those small conversations with people that can make a difference is really important, because that is reality. And it's like, who is telling you the world? Like, who is telling that story that you're consuming, and who is behind it? And this is one of the things that so the whole reason I got into media was a media project that I'm still on, and it's about changing those narratives and telling stories, telling individual stories, that don't normally get heard, from voices that don't normally get heard. So it's like every piece of information now, we're in this weird time where it's like, is it truth, is it not truth, is it a double bluff, is it the government saying it's fake news, or is it the government being fake? It's like where is it? It's very difficult, and like I say, it's a lot of confusion, and I think that we need a bit of grounding and a bit, you always have to ask yourself, well, how have you formed your opinion, and who has written the narrative, and who is the narrative benefiting?
Absolutely right. I agree with that 100%. And I commend you for the work that you're doing, and that's why I was interested in actually coming on to speak to you, because
thanks.
These things, and because, like I said, at the start of our interview, that these things weren't common at all. Where the media and the independent media and smaller media outlets were sort of trying to talk about these things, about the community, about unity, and individual stories, as you say. And it's a great thing to see. And hats off to you and people like you who are doing this. And it's independent media is getting stronger.
Absolutely. And there is a lot of people behind the scenes within media that I've met that are good people that are trying to change things.
Yes.
So because everybody recognizes that it's a huge cog in the wheel, you know, politics and media very closely linked, and they kind of work together. So there is a lot of good people and a lot of, like you say, like independent media that I follow so many people online, and they're doing really good stuff, really good interviews, really intelligent. And what brings me hope is there are a lot of younger people, you know, coming up, and they're very sensible, and they're doing great journalism, and it's really inspiring. So I think together we can keep having these conversations, we can keep changing things and moving things forward.